Okay, hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. If the lighting changes throughout this video, it's not my fault. I'm using the window as lighting because I'm finally awake during the day and I actually have the motivation to record. I know, crazy, unheard of. My point is I'm going to show you all of the books that I currently own that I have not yet read. And they're all here, and I have a little stack here. So I'm just going to go through and show you everything I own. Sorry, I have acid reflux right now. But what I want to do is, like, after I've read these, I want to just buy the books as in when I want to read them and not have like a huge back stock of books. Just buy 10 or 20 at a time, read them, and then buy a couple more. But anyway, I've been speaking for a while, so I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to show you what I have on my February TBR first, and then I'll get into the ones behind me. So, romance book, I have The Intimacy Experiment by Rosie Danan. I know nothing about what this book is about. I bought it on the hype, and I'm just going to find somewhere to stack these. This is probably not a good idea. I might have to reorganize things when I get halfway through. Then I have, this is a murder mystery, not a murder mystery. A mystery, a thriller, it's a something. Apparently it's a literary fiction called Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. She's the same author who wrote Little Fires Everywhere. And you follow a Chinese American family living in Ohio when the daughter of this family is found dead in a lake, and then you just follow the family kind of following that death, that grief and stuff they go through. I'm going off what is on the back of these books because I'm too lazy to do research on the internet to tell me what they're about any further. So if I get things slightly wrong, if you've read some of these books and you're like, girl, you missed a massive plot point there, I'm like, yeah, because I don't do research on the books that I buy. I should, and that's one of my big goals for the new year, is to do more research on the things I'm buying and consume more thoughtfully, responsibly, but I wasn't always so great. So I have a lot of books where I'm going off what is on the back of the book to tell me everything about them. Anyway, the next one is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. It's the book 1 of the Lakefront Billionaire series, following Julian and Dahlia. And Dahlia moves to her childhood home, I think, because she's an interior designer. So she moves back to her childhood home, I think, to renovate a house for a billionaire. And I think it's a forced proximity romance between her and this Julian guy. Anyway, the next one is The Stranger Diaries by Ellie Griffiths. This is a murder book, a thriller, a murder mystery. Yeah, it says fiction / crime. About, let's say a woman is murdered and her murder is set up in a way that is described in one of the main character's novels. Like, one of the main character is an author who writes about crime, and the murder that happens is set up in a way that is described in the novel, in the author's novel. That might not have made a lot of sense. The next is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I know very minimal about what this is about. I bought it based on the hype. I tried to read it once. I failed. I read like the first 2 chapters and gave up. I just wasn't in the mood to read it. But I saw so many people in their like end of year wrap-ups, and like the 5 books I gave 5 stars this year, and this was in all of them. Or like the 23 best books that I read in 2023 was in all of them. People loved this. So I want to give it a second chance. I want to give it a fair shot. I don't feel like reading 2 chapters is a good enough amount to make a proper judgment on this book. I feel like I was just being stubborn and not want to read it because it was so popular. But yeah, I'm going to try and give it another shot. The next is The Atlas 6 by, I think it's Olivia. I just had this debate in my February TBR with myself whether this says Olivia or Olive. I think that says Olive, but I don't think I've ever heard anyone say Olive Blake. Like on TikTok when I've seen this book, I've never seen anyone pronounce it as Olive, but I swear this says Olive. I always thought it was Olivia, but I've never seen Olivia spelled like this. And I'm just having a dyslexic conundrum right now, okay? Anyway, I'm going to try and read it. The next is How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. I feel like everyone has seen this talked about so much, and I just spoke about it in my TBR. So, yeah. I don't want to give you, like, massive in detail descriptions of every single one of these, because if I do, you're going to be here all day. You're probably using this as background noise. A lot of people use these kind of videos as background noise, but even then, I don't want to chew your ear off about one book for so long, and this video will honestly be like 2 hours. If I do. So, moving on. Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. Nisha Sharma? Sharma? Yeah, I think so. This is a forced proximity romance, marriage of convenience kind of vibe, I guess. I don't know how to form sentences. But yeah, you follow a doctor who is also a TV personality, and Karina, who went viral, and then her like family gets involved and is like says to the doctor like, hey, lie to Karina and like pretend you're in love with her and get married to her, and we'll give you the funding to open a clinic, to open like your own like surgery or something, funding for his clinic, which is a little bit like fucked up. That's a lot fucked up, to be fair. I would be so pissed if like someone like pretended to love me just so they could get money off my aunties. My aunties are not rich, so like that's never gonna happen to me, but I would be pissed if someone did that. No. Okay, I have to get more books from the top because yeah, I told you I'd have to reorganize things. I have to shimmy things about. My acid reflux is I should have done this before I recorded the video, like before I started. This is my TBR pile. Then I'm going to do already spoke about pile here. Anyway, moving on. I'm just going to throw this in just because it was in the background of the video and people might ask. I've already read this book. Her Bone with Summer, already read it. I thought the smut was a little bit cringy, but overall, it was a cute book. These two, I don't know why they wasn't on the pile, but this is A Wedding on Christmas Street by Ivy Pembroke. I intended to read this in December and I did not, so she remains here unread. Then I have The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling, and this is the follow-on to The Ex-Hex. I did really like The Ex-Hex. I thought it was kind of like average. It was okay. So yeah, I should pick this up at some point, but again, just procrastination. This is like really tall that I'm scared that some of it is going to fall on me. I have a pen dipped in poison. Things are falling everywhere. This is what is it marketed as? You know, I can never find where it says it's. I don't think this one has it. Like some of them have like what genre it's technically marketed as on there, but I think it's, I don't even know what thriller. But basically, someone from this little village finds out everyone's secrets and starts writing letters to the people in this town, releasing these secrets. Basically, they cause like marriages to end and stuff like that. And then these teachers all get together and they're gonna solve this mystery. They become like citizen detectives, and we follow them finding stuff out. This one I did start. I read the first couple of chapters of it. Again, I just kind of got like distracted. I just didn't finish it. So this is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I actually did really enjoy the beginning of it that I did read, so I don't know why I put it down and just decided never to pick it up again. But I'm obviously going to reread it because it's been a couple months and I kind of remember a little bit. But basically something like kind of traumatic happens where like one person, there's like a group of girls basically, and they're like at university together, and like one of them unalives or gets murdered. Again, I need to brush up on my knowledge. It's been a couple months since I read the beginning of it. While they're at university, another girl, I think one of them is murdered while they're at university. It could be a suicide though, I can't remember. And one of the other girls commits suicide like after they left university. And then we're reading from the perspective of the third person that was in this friend group. So she kind of knows what's gone on, but like she's not like letting it on in this book yet. Like, so we don't know what's happened despite reading from the perspective of the third girl who witnessed what happened. Red Queen. Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard. She's actually been coming up on my For You page quite a lot recently, and this basically is a dystopian society. Some people have red blood, some people have silver blood. Yeah, people with silver blood are like the elite in society. They're like the royalty and they have superpowers. And one day, a girl with red blood gets superpowers. I'm pretty sure she possesses a deadly ability of her own, so I think she has superpowers. I could be wrong though, she could just be like really talented at something and not overreacting it. I don't know. And then obviously she creates an uproar. How would it be a dystopian if there wasn't a chosen one? Anyway, I have A Killer Came Knocking by S.B. Caves. This follows a man whose wife has been murdered and the wife's sister, the wife's twin, and they both want to take revenge on the person who murdered the wife, basically. The Thief on the Winged Horse by Kate I can't say that. Anyway, it follows like a family basically, and they create magical dolls where like when you touch the doll, it can make you feel an emotion. And they're misogynistic as hell, and only men can do it. Only men are allowed to know how to make these dolls. And we follow a woman in this book, and she wants to know. So a random man from somewhere trots into town and is like, I'm a part of this family, teach me how to make these dolls. So she is like, and she uses this man to learn how to make these dolls. All of that is from the back of the book. No spoilers, don't worry. This is actually part of a duology. I should pull the other one out. I'll tell you when I get to the other one. This is King of Scars. It's the final duology in the Grishaverse by Leigh Bardugo. I'm actually currently reading The Six of Crows, which is right here. I'm about 25% of the way through. Page 145, which I think is about 30%. Yeah, I think it's just below 30%, I think. But yeah, Crooked Kingdom is the follow-on to the book I'm reading right now, which is The Six of Crows. So again, you want to decide if you want to read this, there are lots of other videos that will teach you more about it. This is not the place that I can go into like a 10-minute discussion about the plot of this book. Sorry for the Dead by Nicola Upson follows a author. I think she's an author. Yeah, basically follows this woman. She's an author, and 20 years ago, so this book is set in 1935. 20 years prior, in 1915, a young girl falls from the roof of a farmhouse and dies. And something invokes questions around this, basically, and they start asking questions about whether it was actually an accident, whether she fell, or whether she was murdered. So this author is like forced to prove her innocence all over again, despite there's been 20 years since this girl was in this accident and passed away, right? The next is Hook, Line and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. I read, again, the first one, which is somewhere at the bottom of one of these piles now, which is It Happened One Summer. This is very similar concept. It's Grumpy versus Sunshine. It's sweet kind of summer romance, but following, I believe, Harper's sister and what's his name? Anyway, one of the other fishermen that work with the main guy from the other book, and they have their own little romance. Yeah, whenever I'm in the mood for a cutesy little romance, my rabbit's hair is all over this book. This is The Man at the Window. This is set in a school. I think is it an all boys school? Yeah, an exclusive boys school. The headmaster is shot dead, and then there's a police officer that is assigned to this case, but he's like a bit of a bum and says he's lazy and drunk. And then he kind of gets pissed off by the like posh rich kids that attend this school. So just to like inconvenience everyone, he's like, yeah, it's a murder, despite there not being any evidence to prove that it was a murder. I don't even know. I mean, how does someone get shot accidentally though? Like, that has to be a murder. I feel like the fact that it was a shooting is enough evidence to say that it was a murder. But on the back of the book, it literally says, despite no real evidence, he declares the death is a murder. And then, like, as he's investigating, he discovers a lot of shit about the school. But I mean, if someone is physically shot, like with a poo-poo, like, I feel like that is enough to declare that it quite possibly might be a murder. Guns and bullets don't just, like, fall out of the sky. I don't know if I'm just, like, misinterpreting something, but like, it says is shot dead. I feel like someone being shot is enough to at least invoke suspicion that it might be a murder. Anyway, Death of a Policeman by, is it MC Beaton, yeah. I have quite a couple of these, and there are so many more. There's like 27 or something of these same books, just very short. Or at least compared to the majority of my other books, these are the shortest books I own. Murder, mystery kind of stories, and I kind of just have them for something fell. For when I need a really short book that I want to read, I have these, because I feel like thrillers or murder mysteries are just really easy to get through because there is no politics, there's a lot of like action, there's a lot of suspense, there's a lot of questioning, and they're just easy to read, hence why you will see in a minute, because they're here. So you'll see in a minute. I have a couple more of them, but they're like my getting out of a book slump books. One of Us is Lying by Karen M. McManus. This, I feel like everyone knows. A lot of kids, 5 or 6 of them or something, are put in detention for something, and one of them ends up being killed. Seems like a very unsafe school, but yeah, one of them is killed, and it's like the investigation of who is killing people while you're in school, who is killing people in detention. Very suspicious. Oh, this one is actually, that didn't make sense. This one is actually quite an interesting concept. It's Half a World Away by Mike Gale, and it follows basically two people, two like siblings, are separated at birth, and one of them, the woman, grows up in relative poverty. She goes on to have a child at a young age and just clean houses in order to make enough money. And the man goes on to have quite a successful life. He has a good career, he's very respected, he has a very attractive wife, and they end up reconnecting later in life. And obviously I feel like it's always really fun when you explore, like, as someone who grew up poor, just like the difference between the kind of life and the opportunities and stuff that you're given when you're poor versus when you're rich, and just how someone's upbringing, how someone's life, how the opportunities they have can have such a profound impact on where they end up in life. So I'm actually quite looking forward to this, and it's not too long as well, so it should be a relatively easy read. The Bookkeeper of Elpo by Christy Lefterry. I don't know if that's right, and I'm sorry if it isn't. It's this is in the middle of a war, and a beekeeper, which is Nuri, and his wife Afra, they live in Elpo in Syria, but they have to migrate through to here, to the UK, to Britain. They have to migrate all the way through Turkey and Greece to get here. And it says, as they travel through a broken world, they must confront not only their own pain of their own unspeakable loss, but dangers that would overwhelm the bravest of souls. Perhaps this is the hardest thing they face. They must journey to find each other again. Ooh, this I've had in TBR before, and it's following grief basically, and I believe it's of a young boy. The Shock of the Fall. It's called The Shock of the Fall by Nathan Filer. Apparently it won Costa Book Awards 2013. I'm always like really suspicious about like why big companies have like awards, like the Michelin star thing for like restaurants. That's like from Michelin tires. I don't know. Apparently they used to have like a travel guide, and now it's like these are the finest restaurants you can go to. Like having a Michelin star is like seen as a massive prestige for a chef. And it's a tire company. Do I care? Why do I care about the like the opinions of a tire company? I don't know. I mean, books and coffee are a little bit more similar than restaurants and tires are, but like still, they always just baffle me. Like, how did this come about? And why does anyone care? But yeah, anyway, this follows the grief of a young boy. Yeah, my brother, his name is Simon. I think you're going to like him, I really do, but in a couple of pages he'll be dead. And he was never the same after that. So we'll follow like someone and their brother passes away, and I'm assuming we're dealing with a lot of grief, a lot of navigating what that's like. And the character on the front is again of a child. It's a young boy. So I'm just picking apart the cover to assume that the person we're reading from the perspective of is quite young. Anyway, moving on. Ooh, Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Tilia Hibbert. This follows, I think she has an autoimmune condition or something. Chronically ill. We follow a young girl who has a disability. She is chronically ill. She's a computer geek with a goal, a plan, and a list. She reconnects with, not reconnects, but she connects with this guy called Redford Morgan. He's very much a book talk boy. This is a coming of age story. How to Build a Girl by Caitlin Morgan. And it says, my name is Joanna Morrigan. I'm 14 and I've decided to unalive. I don't really want to die, of course. I just need to kill the old me and build a new girl. Dolly Wild will be everything I want to be and more, but as with all the best coming of age stories, it doesn't exactly go to plan. That's all I know. It's a coming of age basically. That's it. I'm gonna organize these because I'm getting a little bit messy now. Okay, we have Back in a Spell, and I have Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper, two witch themed books. I actually haven't read the synopsis of these in like a year, so I don't fully know. After the One, and I have the sequel, The One After the One by Cass Lester. It follows a woman and her husband passes away and her navigating that like whole situation, and then the sequel is her finding love for the first time after her husband passes away. We have, anyway, You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle. This was actually recommended to me by a friend when I was in college, which was like a year and year and a half ago. So that's how long I've had this for. We used to go to the town after we finished college and we'd go into the work, and I would always buy books. And yeah, my friend told me to buy this one, and apologies if you're watching this because I really have not got around to reading it. We was gonna do like a buddy read and both read it together, but then we just kind of forgot. We got caught up doing assignments and stuff like that and just never did. So yeah, I need to get around to reading this at some point. I've no idea what it's about, unfortunately. I've never actually read the synopsis. Secondhand Husband by Claire Kalman. Again, it's a woman. She's dating someone. She starts dating someone. She goes over to his house. It's called Carl. It's a shit name. Sorry, Carl. Anyway, she's horrified to discover it is minutes away from Carl's ex-wife. Anyway, yeah, I think I kind of gather that like it's something to do with the guy's new girlfriend and his ex-wife. The grooms were white. This is something to do with the wedding planner. My throat really fucking hurts. I inhaled a shit ton of like mold spray when I was spraying my bathroom down this morning, and like my throat is just really shouldn't have picked today to record this video, but there we go. Anyway, this is something to do with a wedding planner, fairy godfather in the wedding planning world. Yeah, I have no idea what this is about. I'm just assuming it's a gay romance because there is two men and it says the grooms. You can tell, yeah, I'm just like borderline illiterate at this point, but we're still here and people still listen to me for some reason. Oh, You Reached Sam. I saw this one on TikTok and that's why I got it. This is 17-year-old called Julie. Her boyfriend passes away and she discovers that if she calls his phone, she can talk to him. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting because technically he's dead in the nicest way possible. He's dead, but like he still exists. And she can still communicate with him. And I'm like, well, how would you even navigate that? Because I'm a people pleaser and he's dead. So like you should move on and like grieve and get on with your life. Not in like the nicest way. I don't know how to put it, you know? You get my point. You should grieve and move on with your life. But like he still exists because he's talking to you. You're telling me that you wouldn't feel bad like telling a dead person like moving on now, see ya. Especially when you can like physically talk to them on the phone. How are you gonna do that? And I just thought it would be a very strange situation to still have like communication with people after they die, because like how do you move on? Should you move on or should you just stay like forever in love with someone who's passed away? Like, I'm not being mean when I laugh, I just don't know how to regulate my own emotions properly. The next is Galileo's Dream by Kim Stanley Robinson. I bought this like 4 years ago in a charity shop and I've never picked it up because it just doesn't sound very interesting. Honestly, the idea of even reading the back of this book, just, you know, when I'm ever gonna force myself to read this, someone, if you've read this book, convince me to read it. Because, you know, and if I can't bring myself to read it, then it's gonna find a new home. It can't just rot on my bookshelves forever. Anyway, I'm gonna do the rest of these all together. So these are Death of a Ghost, Death of a Honest Man, Death of a Nurse, and Death of a Liar, all by MC Beaton. These are the same, they're just really quick, they're all from obviously the same universe. They're just very quick, very short, I almost said romances. They're murder mystery books that I just like to read when I am trying to get out of a book slump. Because again, they're some of the shortest books I own and I just fly through them. And then I have Rule of Wolves. Again, this is a part of the Grishaverse. I'm not going to try and convince you to read this, just it's a whole thing. It's a fantasy. It's again with the King of Scars and the Six of Crows duology. They're all tied in together. It's a fantasy world. It's a lot to chew off. I also have this entire box set of YA books. I don't know what they would describe it as. YA fiction, I guess. It is The Land of the Stories by Chris Colfer. And basically in this book, in this series, we follow, it's like a world where all of like the fairy tales from our childhood are like real. Basically, it's like an alternate universe and they're all real. And this is so dusty. Jesus Christ. But yeah, I don't really know too much about it. I started the works, it was really cheap, and I was like, oh yeah, I need some really easy to read books. But even these, to be fair, like they're aimed at like a YA audience, and I don't know why I always confuse, like I don't confuse, but I always like, in my brain, YA means teen. You know, like I know it doesn't, it's young adult, but in my brain it still means teen. And I'm always thinking like this is written for a 12-year-old and it's not. It's written for like 18-year-old and I'm like, oh, I want kids books. Sometimes you just need to read children's books. And the writing is kind of meh, it's okay. Like, it's not too big, but it's not too small. But they're still kind of long. They're still like knocking on like 400 pages, 450 something. So they're still pretty long, you know? And there's 6 books in this. So I didn't really achieve my goal of getting books that are just really, really quick to read. The last couple I have that are like unread is the entire, they're all romance books. Anyway, it is the entirety of the Dream on Billionaire series, Fine Print, Terms and Conditions, and Final Offer by Lauren Asher, and then P.S. I Love You by Cecilia Ahern. I have watched the movie of this maybe like 10 years ago, but I haven't read the book of it, and it is very like sun-faded. Look at how orange this is compared to this. Yeah, I picked it up ages ago when I was on holiday with my grandma. Literally like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and I didn't read it while I was on holiday, and then when I came back I had much better things to read. So yeah, I just have never picked it up. It's been like 4 years. If you made it to the end of this video, maybe you like me, maybe you don't find me insufferable, so you can think about liking or subscribing. You're welcome to stay around if you want to.